Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name is Tiffany Chang Lawson. I serve as the Executive Director of Governor Wolf's Advisory Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs, and I'll be your moderator for today. I'd like to first start by saying thank you so much for joining us for our first ever Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in State Government panel held in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Before I introduce our illustrious panelists, I just wanted to quickly give you a little bit of background about Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The origins of AAPI Heritage Month begin in 1977, when Representatives Frank Horton of New York and Norman E. Mineta of California introduced a House resolution that called upon President Jimmy Carter to proclaim the first 10 days of May as Asian Pacific Heritage Week. Senators Daniel Inouye and Spark Matsunaga of Hawaii introduced a similar bill in the Senate the following month. On October 5, 1978, President Jimmy Carter signed a joint resolution designating this annual observance. 12 years later, President George H.W. Bush signed an extension, making the week-long celebration into a month-long celebration. The month of May was chosen to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7, 1843. It also marked the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10, 1869. To honor the Chinese immigrants whose labor was integral to the construction of the railroad in helping to pave the way to the American West. The national theme for this year's 2018 Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is Unite Our Vision by Working Together. And we're very honored to have our wonderful panelists here today to talk about how their experiences have led them to a career in public service and how together we can unite our vision by working together. So first I'd like to introduce Mr. Suhail Ahmad. Mr. Suhail Ahmad serves as the Chief Innovation Architect. He was named Chief Innovation Architect with our Pennsylvania Office of Administration in November of 2017. In his role, he is responsible for establishing and setting an innovation strategy for the Commonwealth's application portfolio to modernize our applications and ensure solutions are established in the most cost-effective and strategic manner. Mr. Ahmad brings more than 25 years of experience in IT and business management consulting in both the private and public sectors. During his career, Mr. Ahmad developed experience in strategic planning, business and enterprise architecture, digital transformation, customer experience design, solution architecture, and IT management. He earned his master's degree in computer science and application from India in 1991, and he and his wife have 3 sons. Next, I'd like to introduce State Representative Patty Kim. State Representative Patty Kim is a former news anchor and reporter and former Harrisburg City Councilwoman. She was first elected to the State House of Representatives in 2012 and has been a leader in government reform and transparency. In the State House, Representative Kim serves on appropriations, education, local government, transportation, and urban affairs committees. She is also the vice co-chair of the Southeast Delegation, and during her second term served as the treasurer for the Legislative Black Caucus. In 1995, Representative Kim graduated from Boston College. She is married, and together they have married and to her husband, John Sider, and together they have 2 children, Brielle and Ryan. Mrs. Surkala Venkatadri of Harrisburg migrated to the U.S. in the early 80s from South Indian city known as Hyderabad. She graduated from Pennsylvania State University with a bachelor's degree in professional accounting. Since then, she has been with the Commonwealth at our Department of Aging, Bureau of Accounting Operations.
Yes, Department of Budget.
Department of Budget.
Yes.
And she's been with the Commonwealth for the past 20 years. Her areas of expertise are finance and budget. She's passionate about her job being done with perfection and timeliness, and also successfully completed and graduated from the Leadership Development Institute program in 2014. We're excited to have you all 3 here today, and thank you so much for taking time to be with us. So first, I'd first like to ask you I did a kind of your formal introduction, but if you just want to introduce yourselves, your title, and a little bit about, what brought you to the Commonwealth.
Well, my name is Suhail Ahmad. Coming to Commonwealth was really, I never decided about. It was not my planning actually. But in my previous, I've been doing actually a lot of consulting work before coming to the government, public sector. But in my previous consulting assignments, I was doing large initiatives, large projects. I was dealing with big customer bases. So this was a natural progress, to come to even the government entity where you have to deal with more people and more, you have to serve even larger, population. So that was my, I can say the way I came to the Commonwealth. My background is, you have already said, but I did my master degree in computer science and application from India in '91. And then I started my first job as a software developer. Coding, basically, I was doing coding. I did that for a couple of years, but then I decided, I need to do something else because maybe this is not for me. So I changed. So I started doing some consulting, but it was consulting on the IT side. But then again, I said, IT side consulting, I need to do something else. So I moved into business consulting then, trying to understand more about customer experience, how we can provide, using some innovative technology, how we can provide better service, better experience, how we can design better experience to our citizens or to customers or to any stakeholder per se. So that moved me into the business consulting role. So, so from the developer, software engineer to IT consulting, then I said, what, I have done a lot consulting, now I have to do something else. And that's where, I started looking some new opportunity, and I saw this one, I applied, and lo and behold, I'm here. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Ahmad. Representative Kim?
Again, my name is Patty Kim, and thank you, Tiffany, for bringing us together. And I love being on this panel, and I look forward to hearing their stories. I am in the process of running for my fourth term for state representative. I started back in 2013. Never thought of being an elected official, but so glad I am. I went from, and I kind of relate to your journey. It wasn't a straight line, it was zigzagging. So I went to nursing school at Boston College. That didn't work out very well, did it? But I've always had this desire to serve, and a real, can I get out of my system, serve? It has to do a bit with my faith, actually has a lot to do with my faith, and just growing up with my parents who, as children, went through the Korean War and saw some really ugly things. And I grew up, I never went to Korea, was born in the United States, but just always saying, Patty, you're blessed, you're blessed. And I didn't really know what that meant. I was living in La Jolla with a pool and dog, I guess that's blessed, until I realized as an adult, oh shoot, I was blessed. And now what do I do with these blessings? And I wanted to give back. Just like the soldiers who fought in the Korean War. I mean, they were the first ones who I realized what service looked like, and to protect my parents so that we are able to come to the United States and have a much, much better life. So having that innate desire to serve, I thought it'd be in nursing. Makes sense, right? Serve other people in the hospital. And then junior year, I was we had to do clinicals and go in the hospital. I found out really late in life that I don't like touching other people. Isn't that horrible? I wanted to serve, but the hospitals were not for me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I just wasted, my parents' money for 3 years. What am I going to do? So I did a Hail Mary and did a communications just to get out of Boston College and stop paying expensive tuition. And I fell into reporting, and I found some skills. The writing, the editing, the meeting people was so much fun. And so I said, okay, fine. I screwed up with nursing, but I'll do this. And I did that for 10 years. I was from prompter girl to holding the mic, while the real reporter did the interview, and had a lot of fun experience. And the job actually brought me here. WHP 27 News is not that great. Just trying to mess with my colleague over there. 21 News, did that for 4 or 5 years and got to know the community. And I thought, I'm going to stay in Harrisburg and then go back to DC and be a big time anchor and be back with my family. And then I got married, and that my whole plan's messed up there. But fell in love with Harrisburg and the community, and but still didn't get that satisfaction of the service. It was giving people a voice, but doing depressing stories day in, day out was not for me. So I said, you know what, I have my baby girl, and I'm going to just stay home and just regroup for 6 months. Somebody asked me to run for city council. I think I was in my early 30s then. And I thought that was a joke to run for city council. I don't need politics, politics is ugly and corrupt and all that good stuff that people see from afar. And then I thought, oh my goodness, this is a great platform to really serve people. And so I took a risk. People think reporters, are great public speakers. I'm an introvert, I'm shy. And to go to these forums, I wanted to throw up before I went there. As a reporter, I needed to be, unbiased, and now I need to tell my opinion on something. Like, it felt so uncomfortable for me. Got in city council and met some really good people. I went into the churches and met with people and really understood who Harrisburg was, and I'm very proud of who they are. And now I get to be able to help empower people to do better and give them all the same opportunities as other people, and love on them, and they love me back. And I just, I'm not from here, I'm an outsider, but yet I was still embraced, and I just feel so blessed, as my mom would say, to be here and be their state representative. So it's just an awesome experience. It's so much work, like politics and campaigning. Where's Jill? Jill Linda just went through all that. It's tough, but the reward is when I get to go to bed, I feel like I've made an impact on somebody's life, and that's my paycheck. So I'm talking too much. That's it.
No, that was actually perfect. So thank you, Representative Kim. We have many young people in the audience today, as well as colleagues from different state agencies and colleagues from the community. And, the purpose of today's panel is to really, especially the young people in the room, is to provide them with your stories about your experiences and your journey to kind of help guide them as they make their decisions. So, Ms. Venta Kadri.
Okay, I'm Suryakala Venkatadri. My American name is Sue, just to make everybody's life easy, I guess. I came to this country 30 years back and decided to go to university, and I went to Penn State University and did my bachelor's. And it was a struggle. I had a 3-month-old baby at home, but all worked. After that, I wasn't sure as to what I want to work in. Of course, my degree was in professional accounting, and I wanted to stick to finance field. So I worked for a CPA firm first for a year, and I was not too comfortable with the private industry, and I decided to take civil service exams and work for state. So that's how I started my journey in state government employment. And I am currently working as budget chief in Department of Aging. I worked in different departments. When you work in state government for so long, you move from one department to other, and I worked in federal accounting, finance department, payables. So I kind of got an overview of how the whole finance works in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So finally, I think this is where I am. I'm perfectly happy with my position as a budget chief. Also, though my job is so technical, it kind of gives me a satisfaction because there are many Asian Americans who come to me and ask me, "Oh, you work for Department of Aging, so can you tell us what services they offer?" So working for government, it helps me to kind of help them and give them or connect them to different people. So that's very rewarding for me, being in Department of Aging, and I love my job, I love my career in Commonwealth. I think it's very, very rewarding.
Thank you all so much. So my next question is, hindsight is 2020. So looking back at your career thus far, what is one piece of advice that you would want to give to your younger self?
I would say working for Commonwealth is an honor, and it's very rewarding. And I think I worked in different departments. You get an idea of what the government has to offer to public all the services they offer to public when you work in different, though mine is more technical, but still when you work in a department, you get to see how the services flow into public. So that's kind of neat. You know how your tax dollars are being spent. So I think it's very rewarding. I would encourage anybody who wants to get into government and work for government, more power to them, and it's really nice.
I wish I got a mentor much earlier in life. I was struggling a lot of things mentally. You know, I was holding myself back mentally. You know, of course, everyone has insecurities, but I needed a mentor at age like 33 to be like, you know, you need to stop listening to the negativity and push yourself forward. And when I was able to change the lens of my perspective on life, I was able to start sprinting versus, you know, just trying to crawl up, you know, a mountain, just, again, pulling myself back and then listening to the negativity and then believing the negativity. It can just be so challenging. So the mentor just helped me walk through some projects, and then I succeeded. And once I succeeded on those small projects, this is while I was on city council, you know, you get a feather in your cap and you feel more confident, and then you just build on that. And I just wish I had done that much earlier. You know, I learned how to be a leader when I was in a leadership position. And, you know, you don't really want to say that publicly because it doesn't sound good, but I just had to sink or swim. And using everything that I had from TV to even nursing, whatever skills you had in the past, you can bring it to the table, and it can make your job, you know, so much better. So just the confidence level, you know, you're going to be okay. I had to take some risk, and I'm so glad I took those risks, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. And then surrounding people, the right people around you. My family has been so supportive. I have some friends, but man, our community can be so negative, and they don't like seeing other people succeed. And so the higher you go, the pull is stronger, and you just have to detach yourself and be able to go do something and to have a purpose. You know, a salary cannot be your purpose in life, or you're going to be miserable, or you're not going to get it. So if you have a purpose, the public criticism, whatever, I have my goal, people pulling me back, I don't care, I see my goal, and you can focus so much better. But if you just want to feel like an important person, and that's why you run for office, it's not worth it. There's so much more that goes onto it. So if you have that deep purpose and you can remind yourself, this is why I'm doing it, life is so much more meaningful as you move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Ahmad?
Yeah, so I think I totally agree with you that purpose, that's really very, very important actually. We need to have a purposeful career. And you know, when I started initially, as I mentioned, that I was a software engineer at that time, and I was just thinking just from one perspective. But at that time, if I would had some mentoring or some other skill like divergent thinking, creative thinking, that I didn't have that, you know, those skills at that time. So I was not able to think, you know, in a very different way. I was just thinking from my own silos, my own box. So I will actually advise that we need to really start thinking, building those skills in very, very early stage, especially the young. Divergent in thinking, creativity, try to learn all those, empathy, how you can actually, you know, understand the, you know, citizens' experience, or what citizens is asking for, what are their needs. For those kind of things, you need to actually build, you know, empathy. Some other, what we call actually in the research, there is a discipline called infography. You may have heard about those things. All these things actually I'm learning now. I never had all those trainings like in my college. Nobody knew at that time what is divergent thinking, what is convergent thinking, all those things. But I'm learning when I'm working actually. So that will be my advice, that, you know, let's build those thinking, creativity thinking, design thinking, experience thinking. These are some of the things which you will really need, especially in the digital world where we are living today.
Thank you. So I wanted to ask a quick question. Asian Americans often experience what we call the bamboo ceiling. So we've heard of the glass ceiling for women in employment, but Asian Americans have what we call the bamboo ceiling. So you will see many Asian Americans in middle management positions, But aside from that, you don't really see Asian Americans in, using corporate language, the C-suite. What are some, and all of you have incredibly fancy titles and very higher level positions, what are strategies that you have invoked in your own professional career to kind of navigate stereotypes that people might have about you as an Asian American and show them that your skills and really negotiate to get to a higher level position?
For me, actually, it's about, I think I mentioned in my previous answer also, try to understand your audience or your stakeholders, what they are looking, what is their need, what is their journey looks like when they come to office or they come to your, department or bureau or wherever. What are the problems they are facing? It doesn't have to be, citizens. You don't have to serve citizens, but you can serve your own stakeholders, maybe your manager, maybe your boss, and also other stakeholders who are actually going to be impacted by your job. Try to understand their journeys. So, and be more collaborative. Try to become, don't work in silos. Try to go and make friends. Go for lunch with somebody. And if you cannot talk in a meetings about something, about some problem which you would like to discuss, take him or her for lunch or somewhere. Talk there. Socialize in LinkedIn maybe, or somewhere on Facebook sometimes. That will really help. That's what I did actually, and it helped me a lot.
Mr. Ahmad, it sounds like you're giving recommendations around something that can be very difficult for Asian Americans is self-promotion and advocacy. I don't want to generalize, but many of us who come from households where our parents are immigrants, we're not taught as Asian Americans to say, I'm so great, or put ourselves first. We're taught to work in more of a community instead of an individualistic way. And that can be sometimes at odds with American culture and American workplace culture. And so I think the suggestions that you gave about, if you don't feel comfortable saying something in a meeting, taking your supervisor aside afterwards to make a comment, and networking kind of through LinkedIn and other social media platforms are really, really important, especially for the young folks in the room.
So, I'm sorry.
One thing I want to say, it's limiting also with the language. I think we limit ourselves more than others limit us. And even in meetings and all, when you want to address any issue, you're always stopping yourself. And I'm like, okay, how will everyone react to it? So with experience, people will start accepting you more. But especially from my perspective, I had to prove 10 times more than my other colleague in getting a point through. And also, eventually they will see the memos you write, the emails you write. Oh, she can speak good English. She's good with that. So I think there's more of you need to prove more. I felt I need to prove more to be where I am. And it's a journey, but I think as an immigrant, we have to go through that to be accepted. And I'm glad that they accepted me for what I am, and they chose me in this position. So I'm thankful for that. But definitely I feel like I had to prove more.
Thank you.
Tiffany, I totally agree with what you were saying. And I think that who I am, and I had to, when you think of politicians, you think of loud and proud and out there and, raising their arms. And that's so not me. And if I tried to do that, I'd look like an idiot. So I do have, even though I was born in the United States, I have a lot of Korean in me with the modesty and the, quiet and the strategic. And that is actually who I am, is refreshing in the loud world of politics. When I speak, it's because I don't want to hear my voice, because I mean something, and I actually mean it. And I don't want to speak just because I have a microphone. I try to be humble, and that's also very good as a politician. I'm empathetic, and that's very refreshing as a politician. So me and my culture and who I am is actually beneficial for this crazy world of politics. And I think when I do speak in big crowds, I do have to be like, come on, Patty, you got to say something, because I naturally want to just quiet, listen, think about things. I have to make that. I have to make a bigger effort to stand out, especially with more men in the legislature. Sometimes I get a little intimidated because it just comes so naturally for them to just, do whatever. But I do feel underestimated a lot, especially in the beginning in politics. So Patty's nice, so she's weak. Nice and weak, come together. And I think that's what a lot of us get to, especially if we're quieter. But we have to step out of our comfort zone, and because we bring something to the table and that we are worthy to be heard. But just make sure that when you do speak up, know what you're talking about and have research back behind it. And so that when people say, okay, Tiffany's talking, let's everyone shut up, everyone quiet down, she has something to say and I want to listen to her. So that, I think those are good leadership skills in a very noisy world, and it's been beneficial. So I think our culture is, we all have different cultures here, but is beneficial to today.
Representative Kim, I think that's so poignant because I think sometimes our second generation and third generation really struggle with being Asian American, right? And I think that's really important because we don't have to lose our culture and our heritage. We can take the best parts of where we come from, our culture and our heritage, and fuse that with American values, with our Asian values. And I think that's really important. So thank you for sharing that. Before we go to question and answer from the audience, I was just wondering, do any of the panelists, do you have anything else that you would like to share with the attendees today?
We are of color, and we can split us all up to Chinese American, Korean American, Indian, Pakistani. We are obviously strong. It's so cliché, but we are stronger together. And we need to get people of color, doesn't matter what color you are, to come together, agree on something, and push forward. As politicians, we get freaked out with all the students with the shootings, and their rallies and whatnot. There are big numbers, and it gets people's attention. But if we separate ourselves from different cultures and different languages, nobody's going to listen to us. They're not, big voting blocks. But when you come together, they work for voters. We need to stand up. And I just wish that we can find something, 1, 2, 3 issues that people of color can go and make a difference. And we know what it feels like to be left out. We know what it feels like to be discriminated against. We know we all can be empathetic to each other's struggles, some more than others. But man, we can make such a bigger wave, bigger sound if we come together. And of course, we need to have that leadership, and I'm happy to do that. But man, there's a lot of us, and I think we can do a lot of good things together.
Patty, you spoke directly to the theme of the month, which is Unite Our Vision by Working Together. And I just want to really underscore that for the other panelists. What are other strategies that we can engage in as a Pan-Asian American kind of Pacific Islander community to really unite our voices? I think it's very challenging because many people don't realize this, but Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, we come from very different countries with and sometimes in one country, very different cultures and languages and geographies. And so when we come to the United States, we're seen as this one category of Asian American Pacific Islander, but we're incredibly diverse. So what are other ways and strategies that you can recommend so that we can work in uniting our vision and working together?
I would say even at work also, we should have a support system kind of, wherein Asian American can really go and talk to, because sometimes you don't know to deal with the HR issues. You're like worried, do I want to go, you're always limiting yourself. So it's kind of nice to have a system wherein we could get an advice or some kind of a lead as to what needs to be done, or anything to that effect. And like she said, yes, unity is power. We need to come under one umbrella so that we can voice our opinion more and better ourselves and contribute better, and it'll be good for us too, to assimilate into the system better.
Thank you. Mr. Ahmad?
Well, I will just, yeah, I'll agree with both of them. Uh, in my department, I think I am the only brown person, So when I joined initially 6-7 months ago, last November I joined. 6 months ago, first month was okay. Second month I said, what? I need some friends. I need to talk to some people. So actually, there's one CIO. She actually introduced to some Indians. So you always need those. Your people. But the thing is that different culture, different languages. I see that it is created by God, or to really learn to each other, to learn about other cultures. And to come together, not like create friction. So the languages from one culture and other culture, it's about really just to know whether I'm white, black, or green, or any other colors. It's okay. But we need to know everybody. We need to learn other people. Other point of view. That's what actually I talk about empathy. When you develop empathy skill, it doesn't matter which culture you belong. You will actually make friends to everybody. Whether you are a white, you are Asian, you are Chinese, or Korean, or Pakistani, it doesn't matter, because now you're thinking from that point of view, that how I can actually understand that person better, how I can help him or her better. So that will be my actually, point.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad. So now we're going to open up the floor to questions from the audience. I know there's a bunch of young people here. Yes. Sir, go ahead.
My question is for Representative Patty Kim. By the way, congratulations for the fourth term for running for the House. And then we're very proud to have Asian representation in politics, which is very great. I think you're the first woman. And then I know being as a news reporter and then getting involved in politics is very hard. I believe you encounter a lot of challenges. My question is, what are the few challenges that you would encounter in your position, and what's the best part of working in politics?
So I'm going to just really quickly repeat the question. Young man, what is your name again?
Sovit, S-O-V-I-T.
So Savit asked, what were some of the challenges that Patty experienced in running for elected office, but what are the best parts of being in elected office?
I hear a future politician, so I'm going to answer it that way. The challenges, I would talk a little bit about being underestimated, people not really thinking that I would do the job. I remember my friend who actually recruited me to politics, Otto Banks. I'm going to get him. He's like, I was going through a very difficult, bankruptcy issue, and he's like, Patty, just don't cry. Don't cry on the bench. I was like, seriously? So the underestimating, being so accessible, now with social media, I can get requests through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and people are always needing something. And I want to help so badly, but there are times where you're just like, I'm so done, I need a break, so I need to detach a little bit. And it actually took me a long time to detach. When I heard my daughter say, Mommy, this was so embarrassing, if the phone went into the river or if I went in the river, who would you be more sad about? Because I was constantly on my phone responding. And if you respond to constituents, they like it, and they're like, you're a good representative. So I kept doing that, and I neglected my family at the same time. So the balance of politics, family, it was very hard. The most rewarding things, I have one story. A woman came to my district office, and she had some condition with her teeth that if she didn't get them pulled out, there was going to be some kind of blood infection, and she would die. And I'm just like, I'm not a doctor. What am I going to do? Hamilton Health Center is an amazing organization. The CEO, Janine Peterson, we were going back. We had a relationship, and we give each other favors. And so she said, Patty, I'll do you a favor. I know of a doctor, a dentist, and I will see if they can do that. And so she got a free treatment, got her teeth pulled, and I think we saved her life. How cool is that? It was just because of my connections and my relationships. It's so duh. Be nice to people, But in my culture, being respectful and nice to people, you build a wider network, and then you get a network of people who want, Samira likes to help people, I like to help people, and then we just help each other's people out, and then we build a stronger network, and it's so fulfilling. So being able to help people because of my network, I've been doing this for almost 13 years now, is very rewarding. It took a long time to get to where I am with all the people that I know who want to help. So that I think is really cool. Thanks for those questions.
Any other questions for the panelists? Yes, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, my name is Troy Thompson, and first of all, thank you to the panel for sharing your experiences with us. One of the big challenges facing state government is an aging workforce and attracting, young talent, and even more so if you take it one step further, attracting diverse talent. If there was one action, and this is for the whole panel to respond to, if there was one action you could take, what would that action be to improve the diversity and attract more of that type of talent to state government?
So I'll just repeat the question. So Mr. Thompson asked, we're having a trouble with an aging workforce here in the Commonwealth, and what are strategies and ways that you recommend we can that we can attract millennial talent, specifically of color?
Well, actually, as you know, my title is innovation, right? There is an innovation word. So what I'm trying to do right now is, in the technology world, the technology is changing a lot, dramatically. You may have heard about artificial intelligence, machine learning. So I'm trying to bring those technologies to solve many, many business problems and also customer or the citizens' problem also, so that they can have a better experience. And at the same time, it will bring better job also, because it's very hard to find people with these technologies expertise. So there are a lot of our, like software developers, for example, designers. They don't know this technology. They will learn actually, and they will grow from this. So I'm architecting in future right now for 5 years, 7 years down the road. I'm thinking, how we can bring more jobs and how we can attract. And naturally, if you are going to bring machine learning and all those things, probably you will not find all the people here. You're going to find people somewhere in Asia or somewhere China and India. So you are going to hire them. Or maybe locally you can also hire them. So that's the way I am thinking actually, that maybe I will be able to help different diversity.
I'm really pleased that, so there's politics involved with, getting jobs and whatnot. And so when I was able to fill in some internships at the Pennsylvania Turnpike, I was just like, you have to have some eligibility, but getting people from the community and get their kids in there, start early. And there's leadership programs within the Pennsylvania Turnpike, so they get started, it gets paid very well. And so just exposing them through the summertime and trying to match their majors into the roles. There's a law internship at the Turnpike for $20 an hour. And so, pushing some of the students that I know to go in there, it's just a drop in the bucket, but looking at every opportunity, when there are openings, I make sure that I have a list full of resumes and just pushing people of color into those positions because I know how important it is. And then thankfully our capital is so beautiful, so we have a lot of tourists coming in, and I'm always saying, look around, don't just look at the pretty ceiling, but look at the elected officials. There's so many jobs within this place that you can do. From being a page to being Speaker of the House, those jobs can be for you. We are, the number one employer for this area, so we need to take advantage of that. But exposing them young is so incredibly important. And I agree with you that they're aging out, and we need to replace them. But we got to expose them first. They don't know they can't be what they don't see. So going out in schools and constantly talking about it, that big green, even fifth graders, that Capitol with the green roof, I work there, and maybe you can work there one day as well. So constantly promoting and marketing the state capitol.
I think the way you can be hired more, being like the more Asians or minorities coming into state government or anything, I would suggest that we get into the most needed fields, more scarce fields, needed fields, and you're automatically absorbed in the system. And the supply is limited. So that is why I think IT industry is flooded with so many Asians, because technicality and having the scarce field knowledge, or if you're trained in that, your opportunities are more to get in. So that's one way to channel your career for anyone, so that we can be growing or get into government.
Any other questions? Yes.
My question is to Mr. Suhail Ahmed. Hello, sir. My name is Angela Samantha. I'm also from India. Okay, so as you said, you started your work as an IT consulting, and then you moved to business consulting. So did you find any challenge applying your strategy there?
Oh yes, a lot of challenge. The biggest challenge was inside the family, because now I'm talking to my wife. I said, you know what? I don't want to do software development or IT consulting. She said, what? Who's going to bring them? I said, no, I have a plan. Let me talk. You are going to do master degree here, and you will do your MBA. You will get a job, because at that time when we moved, I think we moved in '97. Okay, end of '97 here into the USA, and I was working in a software company. Then I joined some bigger company, Oracle and other company. So we moved to Albany, New York, where I was working for many, again as a consultant for state government. My wife, we had second baby, and we said, you know what, why don't you just do master degree now? She had a bachelor from here, from America. So why? I have some plan, because I want to move into different direction now. So probably because you have not been working for 5-6 years, maybe you will not get a job. Why don't you just do master degree? So she said, okay. So she did master degree, and then after that she got a job, and then I was able to take a risk now. So you have a job, maybe for 5-6 months. Let me do some training, and that's what I did actually. I did some training actually in what I call actually enterprise architecture, business planning, strategy development. So that's what I did, and then after that I got a job. So that was the way I moved actually, from my previous, career to totally different kind of career. So maybe you can take something like this, but you have to plan for that, yeah. Or maybe you have to save $100,000 probably. So that you can be, out of job for 6 months or 1 year, who knows,
I'm just curious. From which state you graduated from India?
Yeah, actually I'm from UP, Aligarh Muslim University.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question for Representative Patty Kim. So like you said that your path to becoming a state representative was rough, and you weren't sure of how you got there. You had to experience a lot of different things before you knew what you wanted to do. And I was wondering if someone who wanted to become a state representative that was an Asian girl, and she wanted to do that, what would your advice be for her? What should she be doing to get to that?
Yeah, well, again, with my bad nursing experience, you really need to know if you want the job. And so to be exposed to it, to shadow a state representative, to know the ins and outs. I always say there's 3 parts to it. There's policy, there's the politics, and then it's the people, the constituent services. So those are the 3 main parts, being a state representative, and you have to see if you enjoy those things. There's a lot of support, research, writers that can help support you in doing those things, but you really need to love people and like the policy to make good laws for the people. So intern, work on somebody's campaign. There's a lot of research that you can do to see if this is exactly what you want to do. And I respect those elected officials who bring an expertise to the table. People who just say, I want to be an elected official, great, but what can you bring? And so going through life and following your passion, whether it be healthcare, whatever, engineering or IT, I think people who are a little bit more mature and think that this is a way to serve, I think that's a great idea versus just going to college to be an elected official and then poli-sci is great, but you need more depth to serve, I think, to be more effective. There's a lot of people who do this, right out of college, but, people respect people who have a family and who are part of the community and have a say. So if you want to shadow me, you're welcome to, if you live nearby.
Yes, sir.
For Patty Kim, you are state rep. Have you ever seen so many laws have been passed through government, sign it? How come cannot implement it?
So, sir, did I get that? I'm going to repeat your question and let me know if I get it correctly. So the question is for State Representative Patty Kim, and you said, as an elected official, as a state representative, she sees many laws get passed and the governor signs them. The question, the implementation of those laws. Do you see the implementation of the laws?
So there's about 3,000 bills that pass our desk every 2 years. Maybe 200 are passed. The vast majority, even though the news shows only the controversial ones, are pretty, I don't want to say non-controversial and voted unanimously. A lot of times we just update statutes. We ask for studies on opioid crisis and things like that. So we get along with most of the laws passed, and there are small increments with, let's say local government, the borough code. We've just updated it and things like that, where you don't really see a big difference in your community. The big ones that we had passed recently was medical marijuana, huge move. So we saw dispensaries coming up and making sure that there's regulations on that so that we're safe and doctors know which types of illnesses can be treated with medical marijuana. So that is my most recent seeing a law pass and seeing the difference in our community. I have about 3 dispensaries in my district, and I'm hoping that it helps a lot of people in that way.
In terms of discrimination law, this kind of thing, you people passed a law in 2015, January. Governor signed it. It's state employee discrimination law. They are whether 537 or 538.
Was this the executive order that Governor Wolf passed for making it not any of the Commonwealth agencies cannot discriminate based on a person's gender identity? Is that what you're referring to?
Not only that, in addition to that, basically because of the Penn State the assistant coach problem, so they developed a particular one.
Wonderful. And we'd love to follow up with you after the panel to talk about that more. Last question. Oh, really quickly. I'm going to go to... Go ahead, and then second, and then we'll conclude.
Thank you very much, 3 of you. My question is for the Department of Aging. Can you, I'm working for the Community Service Agency, International Service Center, and many of the people immigrant from India, Asia, and the refugees from that side, they are limited in their English proficiency. They are limited means because they arrive here with the no or little means. So what kind of help we can get from the Department of Aging?
Department of Aging, actually, I tried to be a liaison and set up a, for India Fair and all, I had aging people set up a booth there to give out all the services they do and what all they have to offer. I try to do that to help them out. And regarding the limited proficiency, the English speaking and all, they do have, I forget what they're called, like a translators. So we do have that, like if somebody speaks Hindi, or we do have people who speak Hindi so that they can translate and let them know about the aging services. We do have that service also in aging. So this is like when we had set up the booths, this is what they usually do. let them know what services they have and how they can contact them and who to contact and giving out flyers and all that. So, but there's a lot there. There's a lot there. The thing is, we should be able to go and get it. And there are services with the language issues also to be taken care.
Mr. Patel, we can also follow up with you afterwards. Thank you. Last question.
Well, first, I want to thank Tiffany for her leadership to make this panel discussion so meaningful and useful for the young people. And also thank for 3 panelists to come and share their expert experience and expertise. But my question is, we, AAPI community in Greater Harrisburg area, we have groups and groups, but what can we do to unite all the group together and work together to advocate for our young people and to help move our young people to the leadership position? I recently, I feel so powerless, but by trying to help our one of the candidates, and I feel so powerless because we are so, so separate, and we're not really. There's nothing together that we can hold together and advocate to advance our own person. So that's why I would like to, ask for all your help and expertise, see what we can do to work together. Because by having this as the topic for this discussion, it's really meaningful, but where will be our action?
Thank you so much for your question, and thank you so much for your kind words. So I'm very excited. I can answer this. We are working together to create the first ever Asian American Pacific Islander Symposium in Harrisburg at the State Museum on Saturday, July 28th. And we're currently this is from Governor Wolf's Asian Pacific American Commissions. This is led by our Central Pennsylvania Regional cohort. And we're currently in the very beginning, the middle planning stages. But what we're going to be doing is in early June, convening all of the leaders of our diverse Asian American communities. So think everybody from South Asia to Southeast Asia to South Asia to East Asia together here in the Greater Capital Region to talk about, and we're utilizing the vehicle of the symposium to create this kind of Pan-Asian working group. And we're hoping that we can sustain this group even after the symposium. So I will definitely be reaching out to all of the attendees today with more information. But thank you for that question. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us this afternoon. We're very excited to have you, and thank you for listening to the panel discussion. A deep thank you, a big gratitude to our wonderful panelists. I just wanted to share we have another program for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month next Wednesday. It's our cultural program. It'll take place from noon to 1 at the Forum Building right here off of Commonwealth Avenue. And then please join us again on Wednesday, May 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. in the State Museum. We'll be screening the documentary film Relocation Arkansas, The Aftermath of Internment. And the film details several families who were incarcerated in 2 incarceration camps during the Japanese incarceration in World War II in Arkansas, and the experience of the generation born after the camps, growing up in the Jim Crow South, being neither white nor black. So we hope you'll join us for that, and thank you so much for participating in today's program.